Welcome back, guys. I hope you're doing well. And in today's session, we are going to learn about MySQL constraints. So, what is a constraint? So, let's look into the presentation I have created. MySQL constraints. Constraints are the special rules that are enforced on the columns of relational database table. Constraints are basically of two types: column level constraint and table level constraint. Alright. Now, constraint names. These are basically the column level constraints that we are going to look forward, and in the table level constraint, we will see that in the next video. So the constraint names are default, not null, unique, check, and there are a few keys. We will look into that later. But for now, default constraint provides a default value in case the user doesn't provide a value. Alright. So the next thing is not null. It ensures that a column must not contain any null value. I'm sure you are aware of the term null. Alright. So the next thing is unique. It ensures that all the values in a particular column are unique, that is, non-repeating. The next is check. It ensures that all the values in a particular column satisfies a current or a certain condition. Alright, so let's look at them one by one. First of all, we need to create a table to see how all of these constraints work. Alright, so let's get started. Let's open MySQL workbench, and I'm connecting to one of these instances. Okay, cool. So this is where I'm going to type my queries. First of all, let's create a table to, well, what should we do first? Default. Alright. So let's create a table for that. Create table. What should be the table name? Let's say employee. Alright. And I'm gonna give it an employee ID. Let's call it EMP-ID, and it should be of integer type, and I'm gonna set a default constraint here, default 1. Soon enough, guys, it will make sense what this default 1 means. Alright, the next thing I want them to enter is, let's say, their email address. It's of type varchar with a maximum of, let's say, 40 characters allowed, and finally their phone number. So let's call it phone, and I'm going to give an integer value, which is the allowed value here. And alright, so first of all, we need to get into the database before creating the table. So I'm just going to fire up this query that says use my schema. So just run it, and in the bottom you will see 0 rows affected, which means we are just inside this database, and right now we need to create this table. So I'm just gonna execute this query. At the bottom you will see create table this, and with a green tick, which means it was successful. Alright, so let's try to insert some value inside this table. So how do we do that? Insert into employee, and then the column names EMP-ID, email, and phone number. Alright, and after that we are entering the values, and values are going to be EMP-ID. Now here is something to note, guys. EMP-ID, which is the employee ID, either I can insert them manually or the default value can be used. If I insert it manually, let's say 5, then it will override the default value and it will be replaced by 5. Alright, and the next thing is email address. So let's call it abc@xyz.com. Alright, and after that, phone number. So I'm just going to give it 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 0. Makes no sense, but that's just an example. Here is an extra semicolon. Be careful with this stuff. Alright, so I'm just going to execute this query, and at the bottom you will see 1 row affected, which means the operation was successful. So let's see the table now. Select star from employee. Alright, let's fire it, and here you see our table. You will see the employee ID is 5 but not 1. This is because I provided the 5 value and it overrided this 1 value. And after that, email and phone number. So how do I use the default value? To use the default value, I must not enter any value for employee ID. Alright, so let's try to do that. I'm just gonna copy paste here, lazy stuff, insert into employee, empid, email, phone, but I don't want to enter employee ID, so I'm just gonna remove that column from here. I will just enter email and phone number. So I can also remove this one as well. Let's make some changes to the email. Let's say it's abc2@xyz.com, and the phone number, let's say this is 90, and I'm just gonna execute this query. Okay, so it was successful. Now what I do, I need to confirm that, I just need to see the table. So I execute this one once again, select start from employee. I'm sure you know what it does. And at the bottom you will see employee ID has been initialized with 1 automatically, which means I didn't put any value or entered any value here. It was entered by MySQL itself. This is because this is the default value. So I'm sure now you know what this default value or this default constraint exactly does. Alright? Okay, so let's move on to the next one.